Um, just recently, I was watching a video of Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, formerly known as Chris Jackson. He was a former NBA player. He was talking about, Craig Hodges on how he sacrificed his career for his beliefs, talking about the African American communities and all that stuff. And for the most part, I understand and respect Craig Hodges' sacrifice. I really do. Because it shows that he had the guts and it shows that he had a right frame of mind when it comes to expressing the troubles within the within the African American communities. So I commend him for it. I really do. I really do. I did back then, and I still do to this day. What pisses me off is that not him, not Craig Hodges, because he was a righteous man. In his own right, he was a righteous man, and I respect him for it. But what pisses me off um, about America is that they say that America, like all of these bureaucrats in America, always talking about pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And for the most part, Black Americans did. Black Americans, for the most part, like years ago, they did try to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. I.e., Black Wall Street, i.e., all these other things that Black Americans had accomplished. I said throughout the years. You know, when it came to Black Wall Street, those were the particular blacks who actually did pull themselves up by the bootstraps and try to make some things out of themselves and for their peoples. But when that happened, Black Wall Street was torn down by Caucasians. It was destroyed by Caucasians. Now you telling black folks to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, but at the same time you have these wily Caucasians destroying places like Black Wall Street. It's like black folks cannot get ahead for shit. Like when you try to do something in America, they will always try to push you down, which I understand to some degree because I understand it to some degree when it comes to the white man's viewpoint. You don't want these people to rather, like when it comes to white people's viewpoint, they don't want blacks to rise up and take over their country. And I get that to some degree. But for the most part, if you want blacks to become more independent and more stable on their own, you have to let them flourish to some degree. Like I said before, i.e., Black Wall Street, creating certain programs and movements that'll help stabilize, black people in their communities and all that stuff. But that won't happen. That can never happen. It's like nowadays, it's like the government, I'm going to be real with you, I'm going to say it right now. The American government is so devilish to the point that they want its citizens to be more dependent on the system. And it's like that's counterproductive. You want, blacks to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, but at the same time, you want the American citizens to be more dependent on the system. You want more, you want American citizens to be more dependent on the government. So which one is it? Do you want blacks to do what they have to do to become more self-sufficient, or do you want the American citizens to be more dependent on y'all, on the system? Because in my honest opinion, it's counterproductive, and also it's actually it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense to me. It's like either you pick one or the other. What I'm saying? We can't be dependent on the system if you want us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. So which one is it? Make up your mind, America, because I'm confused. I'm totally confused. And for the record, like I said, I'm not pro-black. I'm not pro-white. What I am is pro-truth. I try to see things, from different viewpoints and all that shit, man. I'm just trying to see things from a balanced perspective, man. I'm trying to see things from a more balanced perspective. I really am. because what pisses me off about the system that we live in, they all, like I said before, they always talking about pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps. But once we try to do that, they shut us down. So which one is it? Yeah, that's what confuses me. But going back to Craig Hodges, I respect his contributions that he made in the black communities. I respect, his sacrifice, by him sacrificing his career for his beliefs. I respect that man, I really do, because it takes a man of courage to do something like that. And for the most part, it was positive. It really was positive. Oh, and also when he went to the White House that year, I think about 92 or 93, what he wore, that dashiki, I think that it wasn't disrespectful at all. I know a lot of corporate brothers may say, I know a lot of corporate people, especially a lot of corporate black people, will say that, oh, that's disrespectful because the White House is a sacred ground and we live in a corporation and all that stuff. So you have to live by America's way and all that stuff. You have to respect American culture. I get that. But at the same time, isn't America is more lenient and tolerant when it comes to other people's cultures? I understand that we live in America, and I understand that we have to go by America's rules. But ain't America supposed to be a little bit more tolerant and lenient when it comes to other people's cultures? I don't understand that. And by him wearing a dashiki, that it wasn't really disrespectful at all. Because think about it. What if Craig Hodges was a second generation Nigerian? What if he was a first or second generation Nigerian, and he was just respecting his people's culture? You know what I'm saying? What if he was a second generation Nigerian? Then what? Then what? You know what I'm saying? All he was trying to do was respect his people's culture. I'm just saying, just give me a what if scenario. But overall, as far as his dressing attire, I didn't think it was nothing wrong with it. I don't think it was nothing wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the concept that we live in America. We're supposed to go by America's rules because it's a corporation, yada yada yada. I get that, but like they say, this is where America becomes a major hypocrite. They said that ain't America supposed to become is supposed to be more lenient and tolerant when it comes to other people's cultures. You get what I'm saying? So like I said before, what if Craig Hodges was a second generation Nigerian and he was just respecting his people's culture by representing, not only representing, but also respecting his people's culture if he was a second generation Nigerian? I'm just saying. So what he wore really wasn't disrespectful towards, to me, it really wasn't disrespectful. But the whole letter thing, writing the president a letter, I'm gonna be real with you, and I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but that was very commendable and courageous of Craig Hodges of doing that. But in my honest opinion, I don't think I would have done that. I don't know. I could be wrong because, I don't think I would have done that. I would have done it a different way. But that was Craig Hodges' plan. That was his motive. That was his blueprint on getting his message to be heard. You know what I'm saying? That was his way of trying to get the message to the president back then. So, but overall, if it was me, I would have done it a different way. I don't think I would have wrote a letter to the president. But when it comes to Craig Hodges, that was his idea. That was his blueprint. I said that was his way of doing things, and I still commend him for it because it takes courage to do something like that. It takes courage. It takes courage of somebody to do something like that. So I commend him for it. When it comes to people like Craig Hodges, man, like I said before, they don't get a lot of props. They don't get a lot of respect, because he didn't follow the rules per se when it comes to the NBA, when it comes to the enterprise of the NBA, the sports enterprise or whatever. And I get that to some degree, but it was still disrespectful of how they did him like that. They did Craig Hodges, overall, man, in my honest opinion, they did Craig Hodges very dirty. They did that man very fucking dirty. And that was so wrong. They didn't have to blackball him like that in the NBA. They didn't have to do that. But they did it on anyway because they were trying to basically make an example out of him. They made an example out of Craig Hodges. In the end, they really did. And was it necessary? Hell no, it wasn't necessary. It was not necessary at all. But they just did it anyway because they wanted to. So, it just is what it is. But overall, like, was he a wrong person for doing that? Like, was he, a bad guy for doing that? Hell no. In my honest opinion, hell no, he wasn't a bad guy for the most part. No, he wasn't a bad guy. He didn't have any, what'd you call that, ill intentions. He didn't have any evil intentions to do certain things like that. No, he didn't have evil intent when it came to actions like that. He had no evil intentions at all. But they made him out as some sort of a villain. They made him out as somewhat of a bad guy because he wouldn't so-called follow the rules of the NBA enterprise and all that shit. So I'm like, you know what? So be it, man. Fuck it. He might not be a hero when it comes to NBA standards, but he's a hero when it comes to other people's eyes. And in my honest opinion, Craig Hodges is an unsung hero. He really does represent the unsung hero archetype because, like I said before, it took courage and guts to did what he did back years ago, back in the '90s. So, like I said, I give Craig Hodges his props. I really do. Craig Hodges was the man. He really was. Like I said, I give Craig Hodges one thing. He wasn't no motherfucking coward. He was a man. He was a man of his word. He was not no motherfucking coward. He was the man. He really was. He was a man. Unlike a lot of these dudes out here, man. When it comes to Craig Hodges, he represented the archetype of a strong black man. And I don't mean by strong physically. I'm talking about the mental and the spiritual. You know what I'm saying? We need more black men like Craig Hodges. You know what I'm saying? I say it again. We need more men like Craig Hodges. We need more black men like Craig Hodges, who has a strong mind and who has the ability to think for himself. We need more men like him. Period. And that's all I got to say about that, man. That's all I got to say. So, yeah, man. So, I thank you so much and have a good day.